we're moving on. They're learning. Okay, so we spoke about it, how this quality of caution, this is how he describes it, that you need to be cautious with your actions. Look at what you're doing. Look at how you're spending your time. Look at every action you're doing and think to yourself, is it bringing me closer to my goal or farther away from it? If it's something bad, move yourself away from it. If it's something that is good, so do it better or hold onto it. And this is basically what he says. And then he says that people who don't do that, they're less than animals even. That's like kind of rough to say, but he explains it. He says even animals have this basic sense of self-preserve. They want to preserve themselves and they want to live. So if they see something that is dangerous to them, they run away from it. And if they see food or something, they'll run after it. So even animals know how to move themselves away from things that endanger them. And they know how to chase things that are good for them. And he says when there is a person who just wastes his time and he focuses on things and he spends his time doing things that are hurting him, and on the other hand there are things that are really, really good for him, and he knows it and he completely ignores them, then it makes no sense. It's not logical. Even animals have this logic and he doesn't. And he says whoever does that, he's like a blind person that steps on the edge of a river. Because he says, let's say there is a river that is full of water and it's very, very dangerous, and if you fall down inside you can drown. And he says it's like a blind person walking right at the edge. So he's very likely to fall. And if we're saying that he's walking on the edge and he wants to get to a certain point, so in order to get to the point, every single step that he makes needs to be the right one. Every single step that he makes needs to be the correct one, leading him towards the goal. But for him to fall to the river and die, it only takes one step. So it's much, much easier to move yourself away from the goal. It's much, much easier to lose your life, your spiritual life, than to earn them. In order to earn your spiritual life, that's what the Ramchal says, you need to really, really work hard, really, really concentrate. Every step needs to be the right step. It's much harder to get there than it is to lose your soul. And he says it's like a person who's walking at the edge of the river. He's more likely to fall than he is to get to the goal. And he says also, if you ignore this quality of cautiousness, if you ignore what you're doing, this responsibility to take every day a few minutes to yourself, to look, to see where you are, and to think of where is my way leading me. If you don't do that, if you ignore it, then there is no difference between you and a person who knows nothing of this world. I mean, even if you went through the first steps, knowing that there is a creator, knowing that there is an afterlife, knowing that you have a soul, knowing that you have the responsibility to use this soul, knowing that there is a goal, all these things that you went through this process of knowing, if you don't do that, if you don't take the time to look at your actions and measure them and calculate, is it the right thing to do or the best thing to do? Is it something that I should keep on doing, or is it something that I need to move myself away from? If you're not doing that, he says, you're no different than a person who knows nothing. Because just knowing the goal is not enough. You can end up exactly the same way like a person who knows nothing if you do the same actions. You need to look at the actions. You need to look at your life and make sure that your life is different. All these things that you know need to change your life, needs to change the way you pave your path. It needs to change you. And if it doesn't, then you're going to end up at the same place, just like a person who knows nothing. I mean, just knowing is not enough, and it won't make any difference for you. It only makes a difference if you take this knowledge that you have and you implement it in your life. And he brings up a pasuk that Yirmiyah says, the prophet Yirmiyah, he says it, and the people of his generation, and he says, "En ish nicham al ra'ato ma'asiti, kula shav b'murutzatam kesus shotev b'milchama." What does it mean? He says, there is no person in this generation that looks at the bad things that he does and is sorry because he did bad things. No one takes the time to look at their bad actions and regret them. No one does that. And he says, "Kula shav mimrutzatem, kisu shatuv b'milchama." He says they're all like people who are captured. They're all like prisoners. They're all like people. They're like horses running in war. He says like when there is a horse in war, they used to put like things to block their sight because there was so much noise and such like so many things around them, and they were afraid that the horses will be scared. So they used to put things to block their vision so they'll only see straight away and they won't be bothered by the things around them. So they used to block their vision. And he says it's like a horse that has blocked vision and he runs in war and there's a mess. And he's just running like crazy, not knowing even where he's going. So he says these people who don't take the time to look at the bad things that they're doing and regret them, they're like people, they're like these horses that run in war. They're like prisoners and they're their own prisoners. They make themselves prisoners. That's what he's saying. Thank you for joining me again for another evening of learning. See you tomorrow. Bye.